with the public hearing is expansion of Fire District Number 2. And Matt Potsner is going to give us details.
Morning, Commissioners. Created in 2018, Fire District Number 2 consists of Albion, Eureka, North Homestead, South Homestead, Union Townships, and the cities of Hoisington, Almutz, and Suisac. It has been proposed that the district be expanded to include Fairview, Grant, and Wheatland Townships and the city of Galatia. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have and take any public comment at this time.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so if anybody has anything they'd like to add to this, now's the time to do it. Okay, I see none. Or yes.
Spurring this? Is it insurance rates? Is it the need for fire department coverage? What's the reason?
Okay, mainly fire department coverage. The three townships and the city were all in favor of this. And they thought they would have better coverage if they went with the Fire District Number 2. And a lot of it is just personnel.
Is there no staff to cover this additional area?
Well, the departments are going to stay open in Galatia. And, that's an issue, but that's about the best way to go about it, I think. And that's what they had decided. So, yes, thanks for your concern. Okay, do we have any other comments? Okay, if not,
Question back here.
okay. Oh, yes,
They currently serve their own individual fire departments right now.
Please state your name for the record.
Or Tail Hog. Yeah. Are they currently serve their existing fire departments now in that area, in the township?
yes. The Galatia will still keep their fire department. And of course, with District Number 2 is also Almutz and then Hoisington. Most of it's based out of Hoisington. The fire chief is, and then they'll have a like assistant chief in each one of those two stations. Correct. Maybe a little faster responding. So, yes,
Dina Pop with 911. I'm just going to follow up on your comment there.
yes, please.
So it's also expanding the Almutz Fire Department into, which township is that? Grant Township, where they only
It's-
belong in the city of Almutz otherwise. So they're taking over what was Otis Fire Territory in Barton County and allowing Almutz to take that back.
Yes. Thank you, Dina. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would move to close the public hearing and enter into the agenda meeting.
Okay, got a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, we're closing the public hearing and moving on to opening business. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First of all, we recite the Pledge of Allegiance and stand if you're able.
Is for the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It sounded nice with all the people in the crowd.
It did. It did. It's nice to have a crowd like this. So thank you all for attending. Okay, item C, consider the approval of the agenda. If I could get a motion.
So moved.
Okay, first, second,
I'll second that.
first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider the minutes of February 17th, 2026 regular meeting, and I need a motion.
So move.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Any citizen wishing to make statements during the discussion of any item must first be recognized by the commission chair. After being recognized, that person should state their name and the name of any organization represented. Statements should be limited to 5 minutes. Please silence all phones and electronic devices. Recording meeting is allowed, and the commission requests that anyone using special recording equipment be seated in the back row to avoid creating a distraction during the meeting. And we'll move on to old business, and there is no old business at this time. Next, approval of the appropriations, and Ms. Smiler, the county clerk, will present details.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Morning.
This morning, we have the 13th month, fourth batch for a period ending December 31st, 2025, and just ask for approval.
Okay, any discussion? If not, I'd be ready for a motion. Yes.
I'm going to approve.
Okay, you got a first, and I get a second.
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
is that the end of that, as far as you know, for the, I saw
No.
it was only
I know that,
11,000.
There is one, at least for a fifth batch, so. we'll
Okay.
have-
Okay. Still straggling in.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you for clearing that up. Okay, the next approval of appropriations, Ms. Smiler will also give details.
Yes, this is for our regular accounts payable register, the period of February 10th, 2026, ending February 24th, 2026, and ask for approval.
Any discussion? Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would move to approve appropriations for the period of February 10th, 2026 to February 24th, 2026, and authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the commission.
I would second that motion.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carried. New business, all new business to be considered by the commission will be heard at this time. First of all, we have a resolution 2026-05 and for Fire District Number 2, and Mr. Potsner will give us details.
Hello again, Commissioners. We just ask that you consider adoption of Resolution 2026-05, resolution expanding Fire District Number 2, County of Barton, Kansas, to include the townships of Fairview, Grant, and Wheatland in the city of Galatia, amending Resolution 2018-10.
Okay, I think once again, the most questions I've had is whether the stations will stay in place in Galatia and Houston and Olmutz. Just for clarification, Galatia is in Fairview Township, and the Wheatland is the township directly east, and Grant is the township directly south. So if that makes sense, if you kind of see the picture. So it's those three townships. Other than that, do we have any discussion?
I noticed that we had letters from the governing bodies of each one of the proposed additions requesting to join Fire District Number 2.
Correct.
So it's not like they're forced into it. They've requested to join. So
Correct. And on the fire board, there will be a person represented from all three townships and the city. So,
great.
okay. Ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to adopt Resolution 2026-05, a resolution expanding Fire District Number 2, County of Barton, Kansas, to include the townships of Fairview, Grant, and Wheatland, and the city of Galatia, and amending Resolution 2018-10, same adopted May 14, 2018.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a first, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to a K-State Extension Cottonwood District, and we have Mr. Harris, District Director. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to come in and visit with you. This is a presentation that I gave at the Ellis County Conservation District a month ago and was asked by the commissioners in Ellis County to present to them. And then, so I thought, need to do it in Barton County too, since that's part of the Cottonwood Extension District. So there will be a test after this, okay? So I have a little bit of history in here that outlines where we come to. So does anybody recognize this person? Hank Kimball, extension agent on the show Green Acres, played by Alvy Moore. this is the only place I can find in any movies, TV shows, or anything where they talk about a cooperative extension agent. So just a little bit of respect there to Hank Kimball for being that person. Okay, so extension is a lot more than you expect. When I ask people what we do in extension, first two things that people say is agriculture and 4-H, plows and cows. Okay, so that's one thing here, but it's a lot more than that. So we also have our work that we do in horticulture with home and garden help, and then our community outreach with our family and community wellness, community vitality, all sorts of other aspects there with extension. Okay. So where did this all begin? So the Morrill Act of 1862 is what created the land-grant university system, which was signed by President Lincoln. What was going on in 1862? Civil War, okay? So President Lincoln thought, this was a definite thing that needed to be started. And then K-State was the first land-grant university. But at that time, it wasn't K-State. So it was founded as Bluemont Central College in 1858. And then 1863, it became Kansas State Agricultural College. In 1931, the name was changed to Kansas State College of Ag and Applied Science. And then it wasn't until 1959 that we officially became Kansas State University. The next important aspect or act was the Hatch Act. And this was what established the ag experiment stations in connection with these land-grant universities. And this was to support scientific research aimed at improving American agriculture. Hayes has still one of the ag experiment stations. We work very close with them. Okay. This Hatch Act, it provided federal funding to start these experiment stations, doing research on crops, soils, livestock, and more. And it was all science-based research. And then we still today take that science-based research out to the public. This was to benefit farmers, ranchers, and communities. And then the third and final act that started the Cooperative Extension Service was the Smith-Lever Act of 1914. And this was a partnership between the USDA, the land-grant universities, and our local governments. So this is what started the local extension offices being found in every county in the state of Kansas. Kansas has 105 extension offices, and the first extension employee in Kansas was Miss Ellen Batchelor. She was a home demonstration agent in Wyandotte County in 1917. Does anybody remember the EHU units, the homemakers units? My grandmother was a member of one, my mom. These women would get together weekly, most of the time, at least monthly, and talk about all sorts of things as far as canning, food preservation, sewing, all sorts of different homemaking activities. And that was the EHU units. And that's now what is today our family and community wellness agents. Okay. So extension means extending the university to the people. Knowing something, it isn't enough. We take this knowledge and we help people use it. And this is what we call cooperative extension. It's research from Kansas State University. We deliver it locally. We have local programs and we help people solve real world problems. So why do we need extension if we have Google? So one of our big problems in this area is bagworms. Yes, you can go into Google, you can type bagworms, and you're going to get all this information. But does it really help you? Okay, next there, please. But if you come to an extension office and you ask help about bagworms, you are going to get this publication right here that's very detailed for the state of Kansas. Gives you information on how to identify them, what the life cycle is, what's going to do to your trees, and then more importantly, how to treat them and how to care for them. And these publications are updated fairly regularly. If we have a publication that's more than 8 years old, We make it not available to the public. It's updated and then released again. Every now and then you can find publications that are older than that, but usually nothing older than 8 years. If you go to our K-State Extension bookstore, all these publications are free. You can download them, you can research them, you can go into the extension office and they'll even give you the publication there as well. So one of my favorite stories about cooperative extension is in the early 20th century, home canning became very popular. But there was also a lot of disease problems with botulism. People were doing it incorrectly. So cooperative extension did programs on how to safely do canning. We still use these programs today because there's still a lot of people that do canning. And because of doing this, we were able to reduce the risk of botulism. And then during World War II, food preservation also was very popular, and people started planting victory gardens and then doing the home canning. These extension agents were out there doing training to ensure that the public was doing this safely so that we would have a safe food source. The other thing that's really important that we do, just finished it up, is our SHIC training, which is the Senior Health Insurance Counseling for Kansas, and this is during Part D Medicare open enrollment. In 2024, in the state of Kansas, there were 6,815 comparisons. There were 4,351 that people that made changes to their plans. That was $7.3 million in savings, an average of $1,674 per person, which allowed them to reinvest that money locally back into their community. In 2025, I'll go ahead there. Those numbers there, but the thing there also, in the last 12 years, there's been around 86,000 comparisons done, which is $54 million in savings. In 2025, we had 91 appointments in Ellis County, 66 in Barton County. You can see the number there on the savings, which is approximately $1,380. My mother-in-law lives in Russell, and she has dementia. She's in assisted living. She has no way to do this on her own. And I lined up an appointment, took her in to do this. Her savings alone was $10,000. If she wouldn't have went in and did this, because her drug plan, the pharmacy dropped handling the insurance that she uses. So it saved her $10,000, which paid for quite a bit for assisted living, almost a free month. So the Cottonwood District is Ellis and Barton County. You can see there's 21 different districts in the state. And then we also still have just counties that are standalone counties, but still there is an extension office in every county in the state of Kansas. Some offices might only have one agent. We're fairly lucky in the Cottonwood District. We have 7 agents right now. So go ahead there. And our staff, we have 2 office professionals, Teresa Mice and Brenda Walton. You might recognize some of these names. Brenda is our OP here in Great Bend. We have a program assistant, Karis Manning. She helps all the agents whenever they put on programs. And then we have a horticulture program assistant, Miranda Houston. And then one thing that we just added is our community health worker, Carissa Frazier. You might recognize her name. Carissa Winkle was our family and community wellness here in Barton County, and now she's in Ellis County. We have 2 ag agents, Stacy Campbell in Ellis County, Alicia Bohr here in Barton County. A listing of some of the different programs that they work with and different schools they put on. So those are listed there. Anything to do with crops or livestock. They also will help out some with our horticulture as well. Next, we have our family and community wellness agents, Monique Kerner in Ellis County and Michelle Barron here in Barton County. Some of the programs they do, the Becoming a Mom is a prenatal education series, very popular. The Stay Strong, Stay Healthy. Walk Kansas is just getting ready to start. So this is a team that you put together and you record your walking. You also record the amount of fruits and vegetables you're eating and the water that you're drinking. And this is really neat because it shows you on the map with the miles that you're doing, where you're at walking across the state of Kansas. It's a competition. And so you're competing against other teams. It's really good for employers to do as well. Have your employees don't join different teams and do something within your own organization as well to have a little competition. So those are the programs they do. And then, of course, the 4-H youth development agents, Tamara Robertson in Ellis County, Ben Sims are in Barton County. Listing of the different community clubs there. And if you know of kids that have interest in about anything, we have project areas that they can do this hands-on learning. We also have our 4-H water ambassadors. We work in the schools with JAG, which is Jobs for America's Graduates, the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge, and then the Clover Buds are for the little kids. And that's one of my fun things I get to do as a county fair, judge the Clover Buds. A couple of years ago in Ellis County, little 6-year-old guy had made something with Legos. He comes walking up to show it to me and he drops it. We spent 30 minutes putting it back together. That was our judging of his project, was we put it all back together. So the Clover Buds are fun to work with as well. Okay. And then myself, I do some of the horticulture and then community vitality. And with this here, we have a signed MOU with the new Innovation Center that's going in here to Great Bend. And we're going to be doing a lot of our program, or not a lot, but some of our programming in the new Innovation Center. Some of our Stay Strong, Stay Healthy, where they can exercise. We do Safe Serve classes for businesses that are in the food industry. They can come in and train their employees to handle food safely. So a lot of different activities there. But I talked about this a little bit earlier, the Walk Kansas, the Stay Strong, Stay Healthy. So this is a program for people 65 and older to come in and exercise in our office. There's an example in Ellis County. A lady joined this. Doctors have been telling her she needed to have back surgery. She did the Stay Strong, Stay Healthy. She didn't have to have surgery. We have a group of ladies there. They've been coming in for 2 years. And even when the program isn't officially going on, they still come into our office 2 days a week and exercise. Some of it's the social aspect of it, which is good, but they also come in and exercise as well. Some of the other meetings coming up, we do have a prescribed burn meeting this week, which after the fires south of us last week, it's kind of timely to do this. We have our regional club days for 4-H. And importantly here, Barton County Fair is June 24th through the 28th. Okay. So in the Cottonwood District, we are dedicated to improving quality of life through our community outreach, educational programming, and then the partnerships and events that we help with in the public. We support local fairs, school enrichment, producer consultations, and the biggest thing is lifelong learning. Okay. So extension isn't a building. It's not a program. It's a relationship. It's neighbors helping neighbors, backed by research. We translate that research into solutions. We listen, we adapt, we don't sell anything, and we don't represent one company or just one product. We represent science, community, and Kansas values. Are there any questions? One thing I list right here, our website. So if you have any questions or want to research us a little bit more, that's where you can go do that. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any question?
Chair?
Yes.
What age is the Clover Buds? I've not,
That's usually 5 to 7.
okay.
So yeah, it's
How often do they meet?
so different. In Barton County, they meet at least once a month.
Okay.
get together and do different projects. And they don't have to attend the meetings, but they're more than welcome to.
I'll be darned.
Right. And they can do that. Yes, exactly. There is a separate one as well for if they don't have an older sibling that's in a regular club, they have also just the Cloverbud group as well. Yes.
Learn something every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. We get a lot of questions, you know, what is extension? So that's why I wanted to come today, and
Yeah, I appreciate that.
you're very welcome.
Very helpful.
Class, maybe at the extension office.
Yeah. Yeah, it's homesteading is the new term for that. So people going back to raising their own chickens and canning and everything else. So homesteading is getting popular.
It's definitely buzzword right now.
Yes.
It's always had chickens are always canned, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Chair, and Jay, one of the things that I like to mention to people, because my boys were in 4-H and we didn't live in the country, and they learned to sew and cook and do all sorts of things and rocketry. But just so everyone knows, you don't have to, you can join 4-H even if you're a city kid, right?
Yeah. And that's where it's not just plows and cows anymore. Yeah, it's any project, anything you might have interest in. And there are also people, if you live in town and you want to have livestock, there are people that will house the animal for you and help you with that as well.
Good to know. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the information and the awareness that you gave everybody. So very informative.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me in. Yep.
Any more discussion? Okay.
Well done.
Well, this is
Thank you.
information only, so
Okay.
thank you so much.
I think I'm gonna head out.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, next, we have item C, a resolution for replacement of the stop sign. And I think Mr. Beckman will give us details.
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So we got a request by the township to evaluate adding signs at this particular intersection of Northeast 220 Road and Northeast 10 Avenue. Chris and I drove up there on one of my visits here about a month ago, and I looked at this intersection. There's currently no signs at this intersection. They're both gravel roads, but there is a site obstruction in the southwest quadrant of the intersection. There's some trees in there. There's a cemetery in there. The terrain as you approach on 220 Road is lower as well, so you can't see some of those vehicles that are approaching. So I am recommending that stop signs be installed to stop traffic on Northeast 10th Avenue. We've got a resolution prepared to do that. So I would recommend that we go ahead and move forward with passing that resolution. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Beck, I did view that intersection. And I mean, it is somewhat open, but I could see where it'd be some difficulties, you know, or some dangerous intersections. And once again, township roads, you just do not expect anybody to be meet anybody on the intersection just because just such light traffic. So I guess, you know, in a case like this, probably a good plan.
Yeah, and really what spurred this was there was an accident at that intersection. So I think with
And once
that being said, it helps justify installation of signs.
And once again, it's the north and south traffic that'll have to stop.
Yes.
East and west will
Right.
continue. Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I remember one stop sign recommendation. We did have some pushback from the public and once I sat down and explained to them that once the engineer recommends you put a stop sign up, you put a stop sign up. And that's pretty much the end of that. So I guess that's all.
A good explanation,
Yeah. Hey, if you say we're putting it up, we probably should put it up.
because I think it's
Anything for safety.
the county's going to install it and it's a small amount.
Yes.
So, okay. If,
Mr. Chair,
yes, I would.
I move to adopt 26-06, placement of stop signs at the intersection of Northeast 220 Road and East 10th Avenue, Union Township.
And second,
I'll second that.
first and second, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, next, we have a noxious weed, and Mr. Chris Schartz, the County Works Director, will give us details. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
The Kansas Department of Agriculture is responsible for laws aiding in the control and management of noxious and invasive weeds in Kansas. And every year, the KDA requires Kansas counties to submit an annual noxious weed and eradication progress report as well as a management plan. So I was just asking for approval of the 2025 annual progress report and the 2026 management plan. Do you guys have any questions?
I guess mainly housekeeping.
Yeah, it's just a housekeeping. It's kind of what weeds we saw in the last year, how we went about controlling them and what our plan is to control them for this year. So
We have discussion? No discussion? Okay, I believe I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd move to approve the 2025 annual noxious weed eradication progress report, as well as the 2026 management plan. Direct Mr. Shards to submit both to the Kansas Department of Agriculture.
I'll second that.
Do first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
And motion carried.
thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Next, we go to item E, Juvenile Services, and we'll have Ms. Woodmansee, Juvenile Service Director, will give us details.
Morning, Commissioners. As Chairman said, I am here to present to you this morning our 2027 Comprehensive Plan. As a reminder, this is just going to be for our state block grant funding, which is inclusive to prevention, intake and assessment, our immediate intervention, our intensive probation and case management funds. And so I know sometimes it gets a little confusing when I come up here and go through all the programs at Juvenile Services, but this is specific to state block grant, statutorily required programs that our district has to operate. So like next year might be some evidence-based program and some other things, but this is specifically those core programs that we have to, by statute, run. So I'd like to say that I think that the Kansas Department of Corrections, I don't feel like this is a big ask as far as what they've asked for us in the previous years as to comprehensive plans. And I think that all goes back to a component in my comp plan that speaks to the data. During study session, I shared with you my expansive Excel workbook sheets, as far as how we track data and whatnot. And so I think that's the biggest piece of it. But as it relates to the programs and populations, like with intake and assessment, we had 436 youth last year that came through, of which 307 of those were specific to Barton County. And I know we talked about in study session, the ADP, average daily population, as to those that we supervise. And I kind of felt like I was remiss when you asked that, Commissioner Hutchinson, because that was specific to those kids and cases that are court ordered. And I misspoke to them like intake and assessment, because on intake and assessment, we average 50 a month. And so I didn't know if I didn't capture that very well for you. And so I apologize.
The number you gave me was 14, right?
The number I gave you for our ADP is like 100 and like average 109, 120, and that's being assigned to our immediate intervention, intensive probation, case management, those
The other
things.
was intensive supervision. Right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. And so I missed out on sharing with you as far as the intake and assessment, and that's that front piece to all of the programs that we have and that collaboration with our law enforcement partners. And so again, I apologize for missing that during our study session. So, the other component is also then the programming that we offer that comes through Juvenile Services, and that is through those evidence-based program funds, and so just everything we offer from Parent Project, Youth Crew, Life Skills, I mean, everything. We just had a life skills class this last Friday with our partners at the health department and emergency management up there, Sean Kelly. He provided a presentation to over 15 youth on, emergency preparedness, just some of those different programmings that we have to offer those kids. And so just that variety of nature and trying to capture the kids and keep them engaged. And so the biggest piece is, for our intensive probation, we did not meet the mark for successful closures. And so always try to do better. We definitely look at those that we missed the mark on. And, we were able to identify really quickly as far as what we could do to change that unsuccessful to successful. So we'll make some of those changes internally going into FY27. So, but otherwise, we're going to keep on the same path and trajectory that we have for the last couple of years. Might have to continue to make some modifications, but my biggest pushback for KDOC is I'd like something that would give me some better data tracking measures than my Excel spreadsheets, but that's okay. At least then I know that I did this, I prepared this, and I know that it's true and accurate to present to you guys. So, but
Marissa, your evidence-based program funding and so forth, you get that every 2 years, is that right?
that is correct, Commissioner. So that is part of a 2-year grant cycle. And so we're only in year 1 of that. And so, there's definitely some, I don't want to use the word concerns, but I would not be a good steward of information, but House Bill 2329 is in the legislative session right now and talking about other ways to spend those fundings and allocations that the districts get across the state. Really, this is a pushback from our child welfare partners as a result of Senate Bill 367. When that reform came out, it really stopped and halted all of the offender out-of-home placements. And so then just as, a trickle effect, that population still had someplace they needed to go, and that fell over into that child welfare for some of those, we call them crossover kids. They might have child in need of care issues, but they might also have criminal behavior issues. And so that's really the bulk of what needs to happen with that population. But I don't think taking money out of an evidence-based program fund to house meets that statutory criteria. And that's, some of the legislators have mentioned that. How is group homes out of evidence-based? And one of the constituents said that the staff trained would be trained in evidence-based strategies. So that was how it was meeting that. So, but I would agree with you, and I'm continuing to try to reach out to our local legislators. I am actually, during the meeting today, Sherry Brantley reached out and is willing to continue to have a conversation to help, hopefully, keep us on track with the programs and whatnot that we offer. Yeah. So,
Any more discussion? Ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the fiscal year 2027 budget as presented and authorize its submission to the Kansas Department of Corrections Juvenile Services.
In a second. Okay. First, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Thanks for the report.
yes, thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Marissa. Okay, now we move on to item F. Ms. Hallmark, the CKCC Director. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. This year, our funding is almost the same as last year. We're looking at $808,438.94. That is to cover the supervision of felony intensive supervision. So typically, we supervise the higher risk individuals. Of that money, we had some formula changes. So we do have $739,377.14 going towards personnel costs. We did get an increase in regards to the formula error that we found. We have $51,000 for operations. That covers all of our drug testing, any building maintenance that is required, our utilities, new computers, which we look at those every year, at least replacing on a rotation. Cell phones, and all of our fuel required to travel to the 5 different counties multiple times per month, and field visits. And then we have $27,720.53 for behavioral health. That includes mental health evaluations, substance abuse evaluations, treatment, housing, transportation. Of that $27,000, we are going to have 10% taken out for wages of one of our ISOs, so they can teach classes, cognitive behavioral classes, this coming fiscal year. Overall, this is an increase of $500 from last year.
It's not very much.
No, it is not.
It's really not.
Okay. All right, do we have any discussion? I know, I just don't think it's fair how you're getting funded.
Well, and as Marissa said, we're really the way that we're able to pull reports from the current DOC system is not workable. So we do have several different Excel sheets that track everything, such as how many of our cases are presumptive prison versus how many are actually by sentencing guidelines supposed to come to probation. We track how many people we were getting every month, how many we're currently supervising in all 5 counties. So a lot of data collection that we cannot pull from that system that is required to be tracked manually.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you both use, is it called Athena?
Yes.
Is there any ideas about upgrading that? I mean, are all agencies having to track?
And I will tell you that I think I was just on the phone with DOC yesterday, and their belief is that they have been updating it. But every time they go to make changes to it, something else stops working as it should or was intended.
The unfortunate reality. While they able for the to get information out. Districts in this actual times to then actually with the barriers and it and then some of the other districts said they know that they within that the record showing that you said you would do to show proof. So I have a very huge concern. The time that we got it and actually maybe
And we do case staffing. So I meet with every staff member every Monday. We go through their entire caseload. So often we're going in and checking to see what's their most chrono there. I do a lot of caseload auditing to ensure that the notes are there. And if they're not, making sure we get those updated if they've disappeared, which does happen. In addition to a week worth of data, they also travel. So they spend about a week every month just travel time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think a lot of times when Mrs. Hallmark and Mrs. Woodmansey come before us, they're speaking at a level that's way above my pay grade. I'm wondering, Brooke, could you just kind of maybe give us a simple synopsis of what it is that corrections and maybe juvenile services does and the territory that you cover and how many officers you're using to cover that area? It's very simple terms.
I will definitely speak for adult. I don't want to
Yeah.
speak for juvenile. For us, we supervise felony adult supervision, and we do that for 5 counties. So,
And what is a felony adult supervision?
they were
Sorry, I'm gonna-
convicted. That's okay for intensive supervision. Intensive supervision was intended to be an alternative to prison. At the time that it was started, it was to keep the prison numbers down. I think it has morphed quite a bit since the initial intent.
They're trying to keep people out of prison by doing what?
By putting them on probation. There are sentencing guidelines that say for certain crimes, these individuals should go to probation, and there are also guidelines that say they should go to prison. But it is ultimately up to the judges in regards to who gets probation. They can depart from sentencing guidelines. Once we have them, then we do assessments to determine what their risk level is, how often they need to be seen, what programming would benefit them, such as substance abuse, which is our primary one that we have here, but also mental health, sex offender treatment. And then we also do cognitive programming with them throughout. So even every office visit, we're doing some type of cognitive thing. So basically thinking how their thoughts drive their actions. So we focus a lot of time on that. And for us, we have just in the Barton County office between 400 and 500 office visits per month for 4 officers. And because the number is so high, we're doing about 15-minute office visits or less. We also are required to do urine samples or somehow test them. So we would also do mouth swabs due to gender responsivity. And basically keep track of them. Or when they abscond, make sure we know that they've absconded and we've notified law enforcement. Our absconder list as of this month is the lowest that it has been in the last 2 years. We're down to only 20 for the 5-county area.
That means people not showing up for their meetings.
People not showing up to their meetings, they just quit reporting, their address was faulty.
And I know one of us, and I bet I know which one of us, and maybe you have, okay, sorry. CKCC and Juvenile Services are both funded by the state of Kansas.
Yes, by Kansas
Make sure
Department of
everybody
Correction.
understands that. And you serve 5 counties.
Yes, and we are only funded by the Kansas Department of Corrections.
You're funded by the Kansas Department of Corrections. You're covering 5 counties. And you have 237 active intensive supervision cases.
That's the average.
That's the average. Okay. Now, somebody here has a number on how much the state is funding us funding you per client versus other counties or other districts. It'd be districts, right?
Yes.
Not counties.
Yeah, districts.
So
Whereas some of, yes, so I don't have those numbers in front of me, but
And-
yes,
and
and I know,
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. I think some are funded upwards of 17,000 per, yeah.
I know Slazinger's got it somewhere. I know she does. So, sorry, I didn't think of it until it was in front of me and,
There is
when you-
definitely a disparity amongst funding, and Kansas Department of Correction had come up with a formula, and one of the larger counties or districts in the state were very vocal about how they didn't think that would be fair because they would be cutting their budget back
I
to
think
make
when
it
you
fair
look
and
at it for the
equitable.
client, that makes sense, right? I mean, that's okay. Now, when you're talking about sentencing guidelines from the judges and you're talking about they have some leeway when it comes to either prison or probation. Now, when you're giving us numbers and you're talking about presumptive prison cases, how does that relate to the sentencing guidelines? Does that mean that the sentencing guidelines said they could go to prison, but instead of going to prison, they're coming to probation?
That's correct.
Okay. I thought that's what that meant, but I never had a clear definition of it. So
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely.
how many of those are there?
How many presumptive prison cases do we have?
Yeah,
I don't have that number with me. That is something that we're tracking because we have
because that's something
That's a-
Athena
that's a
isn't tracking
predominant.
for us, right?
No.
Or
we have to enter that data into that system, but it does not manually track that for us. We have to pull it. We are having to manually track that.
right.
And we do that like when we get new sentencing. So last Friday, not this past one, the one before that, 2 weeks ago, when we had Barton docket, we got 12 new felony intensive supervision. I have not looked to see how many of those were presumptive versus probation. But I believe it was 8. I'd have to check, but I believe it was 8 that were presumptive prison or were sentencing departures versus 4 that were eligible for probation.
Those were your new ones from last month, is that what you said?
Yes.
Any luck over there? I know. It's my fault, not anyone else's, but
District. And ours is like the 18th, it's like the lowest in the state. There are other districts that are higher ones, and nobody wants any money taken away from them. So if the pool is only this big, that you have to change the slices of the pie to bring up the lower districts, not just counties, and lower some of the uppers. Well, uppers don't want to be lowered. So they fought back pretty hard. So now we're probably at a 2-year stall. Now they're going to do a study to decide how the funding should be allocated.
Yes, the Kansas Department of Corrections has contracted with an outside firm to look at the disparity across the state and determine what would be fair and equitable for everyone.
It's gonna take 2 years to do this.
That's the number I'm hearing is approximately 2 years.
Yeah, and there has been pushback on CCAC, which is a statutorily required entity that speaks on cases. I mean, they had already done some amazing foundational work, just like with the data that you're talking to show those disparities. So, I mean, it's really been putting the pressure on KDOC as to why that has to take 2 years when you already have good amount of additional information to. So, but then at the same time, they're going to go, well, as Brooke said, what makes it even is not static funding. Static funding, 10 years, is a benefit to, but yet you continue to higher level of expectation to perform. So, you know, I just we just keep trying to do.
Does it seem like your ISOs, your intensive, what does ISO stand for?
Intensive supervision officer.
And it seems like your ISOs might be handling a lot of clients.
They are.
So if your average is 237,
Yeah, and right now, we've been very proud of the team. They've been very proactive. We've gotten to a place where they're able to do more interventions quickly. So last year we closed out 159 clients. So we're making a lot of progress. You know, our absconder list is down. I'm not going to say we fixed them, but we tried to do some intervening of maybe trying to decrease recidivism.
I guess my point is,
So-
how many ISOs do you have?
I have 4 ISOs.
So that's 60 per ISO, 60 clients per ISO.
Yes,
Yeah.
traveling.
And then
The
and
5
then they're
different
spread out to
counties.
5 different counties. Yeah.
Miles you travel. Seeing 70 clients. 20.
Right. It just seems crazy. And then the ones that we're seeing 20, we're getting double or triple the amount of funding per client.
Yes, so
Look at, I knew Donna.
it
should have been.
that
I'm sorry. Can you start over on that? I apologize.
receipt,
Okay.
and that is
Compared to,
and the state average is 5,000.
and that's the state average for the districts.
Yeah, so some districts get $10,000 per client. Like the highest one is 10,800. To do the same job.
Per client.
per
Client.
So I guess my basic math skill was like, well, if we're all doing the same job, shouldn't there be a state average? And shouldn't we try to get all the districts closer to the middle? Then we have some getting $10,000 per client and some getting 3.
And some of those districts are only one county in size, right?
Yeah, so they don't have the travel time that you have on top of it.
And add on top of that, right? So based on the risk levels of your client, though, that requires more work. So in speaking with the deputy secretary, we are always in this judicial district in the top 10 for the most presumptive prison cases that we supervise, which is, again, saving taxpayer money because we have less people going to prison, and intensive supervision is a cost alternative. But I've got 4 officers trying to do all of that.
Because the higher the level or lower, I don't know.
Yeah.
You see them more visits per.
Correct. If they're the highest level, we're going to see those individuals at least 4 times a month.
Okay.
Presumptive prison means that when they went and saw the judge in the sentencing guidelines, the judge had the option to send them to prison, but then instead of sending them to prison, sent them to corrections. And so that requires a higher level of supervision. That's how I
Be a presumptive prison and still score out low on the statewide risk assessment, or not low, but lower. Maybe we're only seeing them 3 times a month. But your highest risk individuals, which could also just be someone who was sentenced to probation by sentencing guidelines, could also score highest level risk based on the barriers that they present.
It might be a more serious offense, but only their first offense. So they're
That's possible. Yeah.
presumptive probation.
So many factors.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors, and a lot of different factors for why the judges choose the way that they do. I'm not privy to that information to know why they do that. We just handle what we are given the best we can.
I think it's a complex issue, but I also think that the state has to realize that there's so much disparity amongst the system that, like, you can't give a smaller district, or they're not even smaller districts, but you just give them so much more money per client. And then you expect out here to do the same amount of work with half the staff. I mean, it's literally impossible.
That reminds me of a question. I'm sorry. So if you were getting funding, state average, what would you do with that extra money?
We would hire a lot more officers. That would be the best thing. We could hire more officers. We could do more programming in-house rather than waiting on Department of Corrections. They have someone housed at our office to give those programming opportunities that have not yet occurred. So we would be able to have more programming. We could do a lot more activities. We would probably be able to do some of the proactive activities that juvenile services are able to offer. We just don't have the ability to do that
Not when you're seeing 60 clients per officer
at minimum. Yeah.
per month, right?
And again, this all translates back to community safety. So we have people that were presumptive prison that could have possibly put in prison, but we put them back on probation. And then now we don't have the staff to properly monitor them for their risk level. So we're in a district that's getting $10,000 per client, they can drive them to appointments, they said. And we're like, drive them to appointments? Like she's cut them down to 15-minute visits. And there's other districts that can take them to their programming and pay for their programming. And so it's really a disparate system. And then the more that we dug into it, then they basically just pulled back and said, like, kind of, you get what you get. And the more you keep stirring up trouble.
I think it's important that this is all on the record and the public hears it myself, you know, and in simple terms. I mean, we cannot leave it to Brooke to explain this. She'll be way over.
Yeah, and I think the biggest key is that, you know, if we're going to put them on probation, we have to adequately supervise them and try to get them programming so they aren't going back out there and endangering the people in our
Right.
community.
I mean, it's almost a crisis, in my opinion. I mean, we're close to have to proclaim a crisis in the 20th Judicial District because of lack of ISOs to supervise the clients. What's
Clients.
clients? Okay. So
yeah,
it's close to a crisis point in my opinion. And I don't know how your department, I don't know how your hair's never on, or
I have a lot of hair, so if it caught on fire, we'd have.
I don't know how your hair's ever not on fire, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I really do think our team has done a great job, even with these barriers. Knowing that we closed out cases and we had more success, we've had a lot of successful cases. We've seen people who have been on supervision for literally 30 years who are finally staying clean and getting off of supervision for the first time in 30 years. That's a huge compliment to and attributed to the hard work that the staff are doing.
The numbers don't lie.
it's not an easy job.
It is not an easy job. There's a lot of complexity to it. Then you add into it, as Marissa said, the systems and the different challenges that we have with those, and just trying to get all the data entered and tracked. And they are lucky to get a lunch break. It's nonstop.
Flat funding in this environment is actually negative funding. So flat funding, you know, because with inflation and you have to pay your people more and everything costs more, cars cost more, gas costs more. I mean, everything in an inflationary environment is going this way. And they're like, but we capped you here. So actually, maybe she can't even afford 4 ISOs anymore because, you know, flat funding is actually negative funding.
That is partially why I went into behavioral health funds with one of our officers. And we had to cut back on a lot of other things too, just to make the numbers work. If there's much inflation on anything, we'll have to refigure where we're cutting out.
Mr. Chair, and this question is probably more for Marissa, but so with the Department of Corrections, and I know we've talked about this and I have it in my notes somewhere, but is the funding the same for the juveniles as well on the 3,408?
For our funding, we've been that since the only thing that's been able to, I mean, to be 1,000% transparent, that has kept us marginally from imploding is the evidence-based strategies funds that we can apply for, or we get allocated every other year, you know, because otherwise it would be dire, you know, and, you know, when you do that, it's never safe and it's never progressive and people don't get better. You know, it's kind of like what Jay said. It's about relationships. And, you know, Brooke being able to get somebody that's been on for 30 years, that's attributed to relationships and progress, not going back to bare bones of probation. And so no, I mean, I've had that same $800,000 application for 10 years. And Commissioner Schlesinger said, you know,
It's negative funding.
It's negative funding.
Yeah.
It really is negative funding. And the only thing that helps us even remotely continue to provide the programming is that evidence-based program. And so that's that
that's that inherent, I mean, my hair's not on fire yet. I feel it singeing, but if House Bill 2329 takes that, you know, whether at the tune of 4 million, 10 million, 21 million, whoever wants their hand at it, that will have a detrimental impact.
Which in turn, and this isn't always the case, but a lot of times if you don't get them with the relations and corrections, they'll end up, they're
And they
going to
do.
end up with.
And they
Right,
do.
they'll end up over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, they do.
So,
And, you know, we've had those conversations before, you know, in study session and collectively together. And, you know, there are some of those clients that, you know, we give the warm handoff because we know we've met our capacity as to what we can do in the juvenile world. And I know that sometimes that population of 18 to 25 is challenging, you know, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know what we're supposed to do about this. I mean, we need to approve her request here, but,
Yeah.
but we can't fund the entire 20th Judicial District from Barton County. We can dedicate some of our opioid funds or something and hope that the other counties would do the same, but I'm not sure that's going to move the needle either.
which I think we talked about, Chief Bacher was, he's the chairman of the advisory board, and we talked about going to, the other counties in the district and asking if they would contribute their opioid funds to the project, but there are restrictions on how those can be spent as well. So,
And
yeah, yeah.
And long-term, you know, get,
Mm-hmm.
when those funds are gone.
And only 3 of the 4 other counties support that or take the opioid funds. There's one that does not,
That's right. There's one, we found there was one.
Well, they
that
don't-
which is our 3rd highest caseload is in that county. So.
Definitely challenging.
Yeah, I guess it's challenging. I don't know. If you don't have anything more to add, maybe we need to move on.
Yes,
Okay.
I have nothing else to add to this one.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information, and it's good for the public to know, and I think that's what we're doing right here. So,
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair, would you like a motion?
yes, I do. Yes, I will.
I move to approve the fiscal year 2027 budget as presented and authorize its submission to the Kansas Department of Corrections.
I'll second that.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. And once again, we have Miss Hallmark.
I got a few questions about
Sure.
this one too. No.
Much happier.
Also, replacement of fleet vehicle. So,
This will, based on our funding, this will probably be the last time we're able to purchase a vehicle for a while. We are in need of an all-wheel drive vehicle capable of all the terrain that we encounter, especially when we have snowstorms. That was a challenge this year. So I did check. There were no comparable vehicles at any of the local dealerships. The Great Bend Police Department has offered to sell us a 2020 Dodge Durango that's no longer in use by their agency for $20,000. Which is below book value.
okay, I think this is a good move on your part to get it locally and find it, I guess, also. And also, if I had a wife or a daughter that's going out in the winter and there's a snowstorm coming, I'd like a nice vehicle for them to drive. So,
Yeah, they're all going to take turns based on the weather, who has to travel the furthest.
Sure.
But yeah, so it would be a good to add to our fleet.
The right cost, yeah.
A huge shout out to the city of Great Bend and the Great Bend Police Department for giving us a good deal
Again.
Yeah.
again.
so good to work together.
Yes,
Integration.
good partnership. You know, it's great too when we call them or even with the Barton County Sheriff, if we call someone, hey, we need someone to come over right away, or we need you to go with us for a field visit, they are always very quick to jump in and help us.
Well, the mileage on this vehicle's good as well, so it's not.
Yes, it was little over 32,000 miles.
That's great.
Last a long time. So,
Yeah.
I believe I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd move to approve the purchase of a 2020 Dodge Durango all-wheel drive from the Great Bend Police Department, total cost of $20,000, to be paid from the Central Kansas Community Corrections Fund, vehicular equipment line 095706205.
Okay, in a second.
That motion.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Environmental management, excuse me.
Good morning.
Judy.
There we go. There we go.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I'm here this morning. It's something I haven't ever done, but it's Very simple fix. We have a little backstory. We have Larry Marshall's junkyard that he has out by the airport was approved formally by all of you back in March of 22. One of the conditions, we've talked about conditions of conditional use permits, and this is one that had a very long list of conditions. And the most important part of it is that once a year, they have to provide proof that they're operating according to the conditions of approval from March of 22. I would have been bringing this to you next Tuesday to accommodate the expiration date that is on last year's resolution, but you guys are not having a meeting. So I spoke with Matt and we had two options. If marshals were able to obtain all of the proof that they had to obtain early, then I would be here today asking you to approve their annual resolution, but they do not have it all. So I'm asking for a 1-week extension to last year's resolution. So instead of their approval expiring on March 4th, it wouldn't expire until March 10th. And at that time, in 2 weeks from today, I'd be here to ask you to approve the new resolution or to publicly state that they're out of compliance, which I don't anticipate. So.
Okay, and you don't have any complaints from the neighbors?
No.
That you're aware of?
No, in fact, Mark goes out there pretty regularly. We have not had a problem. Summer of 24, we had a little bit of an issue, but it got resolved. Larry lost a lot in Great Bend that had a number of vehicles, and it was incredibly wet during that time. And so he was physically unable to put those vehicles inside the fence, so they had to be temporarily housed outside the fence. But he did get them moved in as soon as it was physically possible. When you have ruts that are 2 feet, when you're trying to drag a big piece of equipment in there that has a car on it or something, I mean, it's not feasible. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But even then, during that, he was transparent about it. And we didn't have any complaints from any of the people that live around there. So the only thing we're waiting on right now, this year is somewhat unique. It's the first time since the initial approval that they're having to redo the water and soil testing piece of it. Mark did go out with them, I believe on February 2nd. It would have been the first Monday in February, and witnessed them collecting the samples, and then they drove them to the certified lab in Salina. And that does take some time. The first time they did it, I think it took almost 4 weeks to get the results. So hopefully by March 10th, they'll have those results. And I did review the results of those tests from 4 years ago. They weren't even on the radar for any of the pollution concerns. So I don't anticipate that changing.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
That brings up two questions for me. Should we remove the requirement, number one, to continue testing? And number two, should we extend this to the end of the month? So if that's all we're waiting on?
That is a decision you can make. I would be in favor of whatever you chose. As far as eliminating this part of the conditional use requirement, I think that should go back to a public hearing and go back to a planning commission situation where the public, specifically all of the people that were concerned 4 years ago, well, actually 5 years back, have an opportunity to weigh in. But if the general consensus is that there's no
Well, that
need
makes
to
sense.
go through this stuff, I'm in favor of that. That's one less thing I need to mess with. It's one less thing marshals have to mess
I mean,
with
if
for
it's
me.
consistently been,
Mhm.
because the yard was there for a long time before the requirements were in place. So now that the requirements are in place, you would think if there was something there, maybe they would find it right away.
That is actually not accurate.
Whatever.
The zoning was in place since 2000. I believe they bought that land in 12 maybe, and then immediately started putting cars on it. And so it took a very long time for it to bubble to the surface. But no, they did not follow the rules from the beginning
No, that's not what I said. I said there's been cars there for a long time.
because he put them there illegally.
That wasn't my point. My point was if there was going to be ground pollution, it should be there. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying.
Yes, of course.
Right.
Yes.
I apologize. I thought you were talking about something
The other
different.
thought would be, if you take it all the way back to planning and you have public hearing again, does that just stir it up? Or
Yeah,
could you
I-
just
I-
do
I-
the soil tests aren't that expensive.
I agree.
We do multiple soil tests every year. It's just more of a timing thing, I think. So I think it maybe just be better to leave it the way it is and extend it and.
And I'm in favor of either one. If you guys want me to pose the question to Larry and Sherry, I'd be happy to do that. If they want to go through, a request to reconsider some of the conditions on their conditional use permit, let them.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate complaints, to be honest with you, because there haven't been any issues since they were actually approved. And you guys remember the reason we have the laundry list of conditions is because of the public input and how concerned everybody was. They're doing good. I mean, it's been 4 years. They're doing fine.
Right.
Mhm.
And then if there would be any complaints from the neighbors, you'd have,
Oh, I would hear them.
you'd have data that
I would.
doing it every year.
Yeah.
And
if you-
also, do you think we should extend it more than 2 weeks, or do you think you feel confident that it'll come back?
I would like to think that in a month and 8 days from the collection, they would have their results.
And that's all you're waiting on now.
Yeah, they're just waiting on the water test results and the soil test results. All of the licensing and bonding is already, I
Okay,
already
I would
have
be in favor.
proof of that.
Extending it to the end of the month, just so that we don't have to do this again.
that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
First is a two.
Yeah.
right. We don't need to do this again.
Okay, all right. So just to confirm, I would come back to you on the 31st to reapprove a new resolution for 26. Yes.
Okay.
So
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would move to extend the deadline required under Resolution 2025-07 to March 31st, 2026.
Second that motion.
Okay, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
See you on the 31st.
Get Judy.
Okay, we'll move on. Do we need any reason to have executive session? Executive session, okay. Moving on, ending business. After new items are heard by the commission, the following items included announcements will be heard. The following close of the agenda meeting, commission will consider the authorization of personnel change for classified positions, sign any documentation approved during the agenda meeting, or sign any other documentation required for the regular county business. Similar actions may take place throughout the day. County officials may attend the Great Bend Chamber of Commerce Annual Award Ceremony beginning at 6 p.m. Saturday, February 28th, 2026. The event will be held at the Great Bend Event Center, 3111 10th Street, Great Bend, Kansas. County officials will attend the County Day at the Capitol on March 3rd, 2026, beginning at 9 a.m. The event will be held in the first floor rotunda of the Kansas State House, 300 Southwest 10th Avenue, Topeka, Kansas. As a result, the next commission meeting will be March the 10th. Emergency management reminds the public that severe weather preparedness week is March 2nd through the 6th, 2026. Citizens encouraged to actively participate in the statewide tornado drill scheduled for 10 a.m. Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. In addition, Storm Fury on the Plains will be presented by the National Weather Service, Wichita office at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, March 4th, 2026 at the Crest Theater, 1905 Lake in Great Bend, Kansas. We've got appointments today, although subject to change. The following appointments have been scheduled: 9:45, which is we're way past that, or following the close of the agenda meeting, planning sessions with the media consultant. Program update after that will be Josh Beckman, County Engineer, Kirkman and Michael. 10:15, Chris Schartz, County Works Director. At 10:45, County Grant Opportunities, Karen Winkleman, Public Health Director. 11 a.m. regular business discussion, Matt Potster, County Administrator. The county edition, KVGB AM Thursday at 11:05 a.m. Members of the Health Department are scheduled for February 26th. And another business discussion items. This is mainly for the commissioners. We have discussion. Okay, once again, the commissioners will be attending the meeting, just as a reminder, in Topeka this next Tuesday. And basically, I don't know if any of the commissioners have ever done this before. but I think it's our job to promote Barton County
I
and,
bet Commissioner Esfeld has.
okay.
Yeah, but not with my whole team, so this is exciting.
And this is our chance to promote Barton County, and if that's the case, nobody else will if we don't. So that's what our plans are. Next, citizens or organizations may present requests or proposals for initial consideration, and this is for the public. Any public information? Okay, I see none. The commissioners are available to the public on Tuesdays during regular business hours. One or more commissioners may be present at the commission chambers conducting county business throughout the day on Tuesdays. The commissioners may individually schedule personnel appointments related to the county business at their discretion. And the next regular meeting will be at 9 a.m. Tuesday, March the 10th, 2026. And if we're finished, no other discussion, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Motion adjourned, or meeting adjourned.